Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to Wild Raven Tarot. I'm your host Bobby. I'm here today with my guest Paul Hudon. Tonight's guest is somebody whose work feels like a deep breath in a world that rarely pauses. Paul is an author, a teacher, a lifelong seeker whose writing invites us to look inward with honesty, compassion, and courage. Through books like A Complete Life and Your Inner Guidance, he explores what it means to live with intention, to listen to the quiet truth inside of ourselves, and to meet life with an open heart, even when it's messy, complicated, or uncomfortable. Paul's voice is grounded, steady, and refreshingly human. He doesn't preach from a mountaintop. He speaks from lived experience, from curiosity, and from a genuine desire to help people reconnect with their own inner clarity. His work reminds us that the spiritual growth isn't about perfection, it's about presence, awareness, and the willingness to show up for ourselves. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Robert, thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction.
Your books are calming, encouraging. They give you strength. You're one of those people. I have another friend, Ramon. You remind me of him, and he reminds me of you. You both have that presence about you where it's strong, calm, commanding, and not really worried about anything because you know yourself. Um, I admire that. Let's say hi to a couple people before we start chit chatting. I put the wrong time down, you guys, so this is on me. Um, Selena is posting Paul's website. You can go there. You can also find Paul's books on Goodreads. I know, I checked. So we've got Debbie from Debbie's Witchy Vlog, Selena, Miss Tarot D, Bobby's here. Hey, Bobby. We've got Angel. Oh, I'm sorry, Angie, Mary, Charlotte. Puma Daddy. What's up, Dan? Where's Gigi? Um, Gigi and Dan are a match set where one goes, the other's not far behind.
That's always cool.
Right. Paul, this is your second time on. You were like one of my first two guests.
I remember that. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, so it was a learning experience. This past year has been incredible. I thought it'd be fun to touch bases and reconnect and see what's going down. Um, you're you're an author, but you're I like to think of you as a life coach. Um, I do. I mean,
Thank you.
what is your favorite book that you've written and why?
Hmm. I would have to say my most recent book, Abundance to Zen, Wisdom for a Fulfilling Life, is my favorite book. Um, and I wrote it as a daily reader. So you could just open it up and flip anywhere and read whatever chapter your hands open the book. And no chapter is greater than 2.5 pages. So the idea is that you can just sit down, open up the book, read that chapter and contemplate it, and then go out through your day or turn the light off and go to bed. So that was the intention of that book. Um,
Oh, well, it's good to know that there are people out there putting out work like this. I was in chat wondering if this is going to turn into something, but I've got mods here, so I'm not worried. Um, what this is a question I don't know if you're going to be able to answer. What was the most difficult book for you to write?
um, um, it's interesting because my first two books were conversations with my higher self, and as you thumb through both of those books, you see that I'm actually asking my higher self questions and I'm receiving answers. And I didn't know the answers before I asked the questions. So those books actually flowed really easily because I would ask a question and I would get an answer and I would type the answer. Um, and so I think I hate to say it, but I think all three of my books flowed very easily, but they flowed through me. Um, if that makes sense. I don't think I actually, like, I just finished a thriller, a spy thriller, and I can't believe how people write like that. I mean, they have put a lot of thought into it. I mean, every detail is taken care of and uncovered. Um, and my books, I think I just get out of the way and listen to what I hear and type what I hear. Um,
That's channeling, my friend.
yeah. No,
Uh,
you're right. Yeah.
it's
Um,
channeling is what it is when
mm,
you just let the creative force take over.
yeah.
Um, I I do that with my artwork. I work with resin to
Hmm.
relax. I like it because it's so free flowing. It's what I love about tarot. It's free flowing.
Right.
Um, you came from a rougher patch. You weren't always the spiritual soul you are now, were you?
No. Well, I always knew that intuitive voice was there, but I came from the housing industry. At a young age, I was a what you'd call a track framer, where you drove into a subdivision and there were 12 foundations, and 13 weeks later you left and there were 12 houses. Um, and you were bent over all day swinging a big old hammer. And it was competitive. It was dirty. It was nasty. It was loud. It was obscene. And so it's an interesting life to sort of live through. Uh, the housing market, for a lot of people, is not for the faint of heart. And and so always working, realizing that that wasn't who I wanted to be. I didn't want to be those types of people. Uh, and so I wound up always working more towards finding my truth, even in the housing industry, to be more creative and to do more work that was heart centered rather than wallet driven.
That's something I wanted to ask you about. Um, on your website, you talk about learning to trust your inner voice. Um,
Mhm.
where, how did that come about? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. You realized you had that inner voice talking to you, and what I saw was that it once you figured out what it was, how did you figure out what it was, and how did you learn to listen to that voice? Because a lot of people ask me, how do I trust my intuition?
That's
um,
a great question. And the best way to trust your intuition uh, is to pay attention to when you ignore your intuition and the outcome. And that's where the lesson started for me. Because as painful as it is for me to say this, every time I ignored my intuition, I met some really great orthopedic surgeons, either crashing my motorcycle or whatever. And I realized that I had the intuitive feeling ahead of time, but I ignored it for various reasons. And we do that. We ignore it because we want to be liked by others, and um, we want everybody to like us, and maybe we need the money, and I don't want to disappoint my friends and all of that stuff. So we end up ignoring our intuition for all the wrong reasons. But as soon as we start following our intuition, we realize that, wow, this guidance actually does make sense. Because one time I got on my motorcycle and I rode to the top of the driveway and I felt, wow, this isn't my day. And I did a U turn at the top of the driveway and came home. And just and parked the motorcycle and went in my wood shop and just had a great day in my wood shop. So watch what happens when you ignore your intuition, and watch what happens when you follow your intuition. And for me, the last time I ignored my intuition, my wife was speeding to the emergency room as I had a bandage on my finger. And I realized that I will never ignore my intuition again. And I will spend the rest of my life following my intuition, and I will never doubt it. And at that moment, that changed my life.
I tell people journal. Write down
Sure.
when you get a thought, a hit. Um, that happens to me a lot. And it took me a while to realize that I was getting flashes of insight.
Yeah.
Um, and then I did exactly what you're talking about right now. I started paying attention to the outcome of my thought. Um, I'll give you a for instance. One of my clients I hadn't heard from in months just popped into my head. And I was thinking, I should call her. I should call her. No, I don't want to seem like I'm pushing to get her to pay for an appointment or anything. So I was debating that for a couple of days. And then she called to set up an appointment because she was going through something. And I was like, man, I should have called her when I had the chance. Or
Right.
it's that type of thing. I pay attention to those thoughts now.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised at just how many are accurate, actually. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. There's so much out there where people say, "Oh, just ignore all the voices in your head," because not only do I have my loving, kind, compassionate intuition, I have my self doubt. I have my negative self talk. I have the voice of some teacher in junior high that said I would never accomplish anything. And I have the voice, we all have those voices. But the thing that we have to remember is our intuition is always loving, kind, and compassionate. So that's how we know that it's our intuition. Because our intuition will never say, go punch that dog, go punch your dog because he barked. Your intuition doesn't say that. That's your ego, or that's your negative self-talk. Or so realize that your intuition is always your intuition is actually the truth of who you are.
Ooh, I like that.
Underneath all those layers of persona that we create or have been created for us is the truth of who we are. And our intuition is the voice of that truth. So that's how we know it's real, because that's who you truly are. Your intuition is you speaking to you.
I'm going to write that down here. Intuition. No, that's awesome. I love the phrasing of that. You should write books.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'll give it a try.
Now, when we talked before, you talked about when you sit down to write a book. Oh, even today, you said you just let go and
Mhm.
let your creativity take over.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time when you've sat down to do something, you're like, okay, let's do this, and you sit there and nothing happens?
No, and what I'll do then is I'll journal. I'll sort of prime the pump. I'll go to my journal and I'll write. And I have this exercise that I do where it's called creating a sacred space. And so imagine in your mind you create a space that is totally safe, totally secure, where you can be who you truly are, and you don't have to worry about anything. And when in a workshop I do, I ask the participants to actually create that space. Like for my wife, it's in a garden, and I knew a woman, it was by the river. And so for me, I know it has big windows overlooking the view and all that kind of stuff, and there are bookcases behind me. And so a lot of times to prime the pump, I'll enter that sacred space and begin a dialogue with my higher self. And a lot of times I'll type, boy, I'm trying to write something on this subject, but I really can't get anything going. And I'll quiet my mind. And then my higher self may say, well, maybe you need to think about it a little more, what are we doing here? Why aren't we over there writing? You go, okay, I'll meet you there. And so sometimes we have to prime the pump because as much as cool as this all is, I have my self doubt. I have my negative self talk, and some days I look in the mirror and I go, wow, who am I to write books? Who am I to write this stuff? Don't I have to be some guy that crawled on his knees for 1,000 miles and meditated for 40 years? And it's like, I'm just a guy. But
Right.
and that's a false belief, because any one of us can tap into this information. Any one of us can tap into our true selves. We just have to work through all the junk that we've been taught about ourselves, and actually a lot of junk that we've been taught about our spirituality too. So
I was commenting on this retro river walkers talking about my hat.
Looks good.
You're lucky I wore this one. I was gonna wear my red top hat, but I like hats.
You're the only person I know with a red top hat.
Dude, I got that for Christmas and I love it. I've decided hats are my thing. I'm getting the big Mad Hatter one.
Oh, cool.
I love hats. So can you tell us about your workshops? What are they like? What happens?
All of my workshops, we try to trying to get people past all those barriers that prevent us and them from hearing the voice of our true selves. Everything that limits us, or realizing what our negative self-talk is, and realizing actually how easy it is for us to communicate with our higher selves. We just have to separate the time out to do it. I know a lot of people in meditation will work at really trying to blank out all of their thoughts. But what they wind up doing is actually blanking out the thoughts that are really important to them. Because a lot of times in meditation, that's where people are the quietest and they can speak with their higher selves. But because we're taught in meditation to throw all the thoughts away and clear our mind, we wind up ignoring the very guidance we're looking for.
See, I don't clear my mind during meditation. It's funny, I never really thought about it, but what I do is I basically pull down the walls that were holding all these weird thoughts back. I pull them down and I let them run into each other. I let them gel and see what comes of it. And then I just pick through it. But that's a personal thing. There's a lot of people who do exactly what you said. They sit down and they're able to push. I can't. I'm not.
I can't. There's no way I can.
No. So rather than fight it and feel bad about myself, I go with what's happening. I deal with it. I don't avoid it. So do you offer workshops online?
No, I haven't yet.
Yet.
Yeah, there is the yet. No, I haven't yet. So
okay. That I know a lot of people would be interested in. Last time I saw Paul, a new center just opened up here in our town, and we're both touching with that. The thought of helping people in the town where I live makes me excited. I didn't know what kind of effect I would have on the community, if at all, but it's turning out pretty good. There's a lot of bullshit in the world right now. There's no other word for it.
Yes.
Now, what is your advice for people when they get overwhelmed?
It's an easy place to get to nowadays because it's bombarding us everywhere on every platform. I mean, you see it when you go to fill up. You see it when you're in the grocery store. So it's an easy place to get overwhelmed. Um, so a lot of times, what I try to do is just again realize that I am doing the best I can. Everybody is doing the best they can. The most toxic person you can think of, as challenging as this thought is doing the best they can based on the pushback in their lives, based on what they know, what they've learned, and the people around them, and all that. They're doing the best they can. And so for me, when I feel myself getting overwhelmed, it's because I'm looking out there and seeing all the terrible things that are going on in the world. And to overcome that, I turn that gaze onto myself and ask, how can I be more loving, kind, and compassionate? Because the only way we can counteract what's going on in the world today is through love, kindness, and compassion. I mean, if I punch you in the nose and you punch me in the nose, there's no way we're going to resolve anything. But if you punch me in the nose and I think, wow, I'm going to be more loving, kind, and compassionate, it pretty much ends there. It ends there. And it's really hard in this day and age to sort of be that love, be that kindness, and be compassionate.
On the
But
other
that's how,
side of that,
go ahead.
on the other side of that is that balance and need for fairness is driving a lot of people batty.
Well,
The
sure.
thought that comes to me is Libra balance. But Libra is ruled by Venus. That is a big thing with me. The desire, the need, the love for balance, harmony.
Mhm.
That's missing in people's lives right now. And I really wish that there wasn't so much fear. Um, I think that's a big thing right now is people are afraid and they're made to be afraid. People are going out of their way to make people afraid right now.
Mhm.
Um, what say you on that topic?
Being afraid is a choice.
Ooh.
Being loving is also a choice. I mean, I can choose to be afraid, and it gets me too. I mean, I trust me, you're not alone on this. You know that there. I know there are bad things out there, there are bad people out there, and I understand that. But if I'm afraid, then I attract more reasons to be afraid. If I'm loving, then there's I will attract more reasons to be loving, kind, and compassionate.
I like that.
And so again, being afraid for me is a choice, and and when I'm afraid, I separate myself from the truth of who I am, because the truth of who I am, the love at the core of my being, is connected to the energy of all creation. And I know a lot of people might find this kind of weird, but for me, the great creator is love. The energy that joins all of us together is love.
Love is
Uh,
the law.
what's that?
I said love is the law. That's
Yeah,
a big thing in metaphysical circles. Aleister
right.
Crowley, that was his big thing with um, his belief system. Love is the law. Everything is
Yeah.
that. It's funny you bring that up, that it's a choice, because if you look at tarot, the lover's card is a choice. But one of the things I say when I read is to follow the path of love is a choice. So yes, I fully agree. Being afraid is a choice. And sometimes I have to talk myself down off the ledge because I'm the one that put me up there.
Oh, sure.
I'm the one that opened the window, climbed out on the ledge, and made myself cray cray. Um, when I started my channel last year, I wanted to do a certain type of channel in a certain way and attract certain people, and everything's going great, but I started driving myself crazy. I started comparing myself to my friend Ramon, Selena, Gerald, Chris, all of these people. And I had never compared myself to anybody before. I was always in my own lane and knew that. Um, but all of a sudden, I was feeling less than, and it wasn't them doing it to me, it was me doing it to myself. So I had to put the brakes on and tell everybody, well, stepping back for a reset. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, because
it,
excuse me, but because you are doing the best you can as well. It's like, so some days I wake up and I go, wow, what the heck am I doing with my life? And realize, all right, I'm doing the best I can. Yesterday I went to bed last night. Yeah, I went to bed last night and I felt great. And I woke up this morning, I'm kind of funky. And I'm not gonna keep chasing that dog. We're gonna just stop right here. And maybe I'll go for a walk, or maybe I'll go down and clean the corral and rub the horse for a while and get my head back into it. And so I think it's the awareness of catching that before you wind up on the ledge, catching it. Oh, I have this fear. It's like, put the brakes on that baby because we can. And I go, all right,
yeah,
I understand all of that. I understand what's going on in the world and I see the danger of it. But all we have is right here, right now. This is it. This is my world right now. This is pretty much, I'm thinking of my wife, I'm thinking about my mom and that kind of thing. But this is pretty much it right here, right now. And so right here, right now, I want to be rooted in love, kindness, and compassion.
I I dig that. I really do. It's not always easy.
Nope.
We know that. Um, what is your advice for people dealing with guilt?
Um, there was a time where I said that guilt is a self-inflicted emotion, and I think we bring it on ourselves a lot of times. Was I always the best husband? Probably not. Was I a jerk? Probably so. But I can't allow that to direct my life today. So yeah, so can I be? I can't really carry that because it's too great of a burden. All I can look back and say, wow, 15 years ago, when I might have been a butthead, I was doing the best I could.
Right.
And I learned from that situation. And now I'm going to move forward and try to be a better person. So I try not to have much guilt. I try not to, because that guilt it's in the past. There's nothing I can do about it. I mean, the things I said to somebody 25, 30 years ago, they're gone, they're done. There's nothing I can do about it. And
Right.
so all I can do is look at
That's
it.
a big thing with me is letting go of the past and the view of myself from the past. Because prior to my brain surgery, I was an arrogant little fuck. Um, I was not a nice person. And it took the gods coming down and smacking me upside the head and making me a disabled person to uh, make me open my eyes to what was really important in the world. Um, things don't attract me. Having things, possessions, that is not. I could care less. I can go down to Pick and Save and get everything that they're getting at expensive stores. I'm not a label whore. Um, I'm excited that the universe has put people in my life at the right time. The last time I saw you, and I wanted to tell you this, um, I look like shit. We had just come from doing the farmer's market. I'd had a
Mhm.
big, busy day that day, and I could barely think, let alone walk. I was tired. I had my cane with me, and that was one of those days where I was doing just what is my life? Is this it? Is this all I have? Um, sometimes I feel lost, and the universe and the gods will put a signpost in front of me, and that signpost that day was you, um, because it made me think about your books. It made me think about your advice. It made me think about the emails that I get with your messages on it.
Mhm.
And I realized I am putting myself on ledges. I am making myself crazy. Um, I hate doing that. I really do. I hate my brain when it gets like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think when we compare ourselves to others is when we do ourselves the greatest injustice, um, because your path is totally different than mine, which is totally different than somebody else we may know. Uh, and each one of us is going to reach people at different levels at different times. Um, and something I say today may not resonate with somebody, but if I say the same thing in 2 years, it may resonate with that same person. So we really can't compare ourselves. And as an author in the sort of spiritual realm and the books that I channel, you know, the people in my genre are, Esther Hicks, and they're pretty tall figures in the world. Um, and at one time, Deepak Chopra was one of those figures, but I guess not anymore. And so there's always that comparing ourselves. Wow, I've only sold this many books, but that person sold 2 million. What kind of
right.
writer am I? And so we do ourselves a real injustice when we start comparing ourselves. And a lot of times that realizing that, this is my journey and I'm impacting people's lives
Right.
in my own way, and I have to be okay with that.
That right
And
there. That's what actually stopped me from going crazy was um, somebody who a while back got inspired by my channel started their own channel, and I realized there's been a couple people like that
yeah, that's
that
cool.
from watching my channel they've started their own, and that made me feel good, and it made me realize I'm doing this in my way. I can't compare myself to anybody else.
No.
um it's troubling when you start comparing yourself to other people, because I suddenly realized was feeling like I wasn't enough, and I'm not used to that. um
Yeah, yeah.
I've always been too much for everybody, and suddenly I wasn't enough. Um, I had to remember. I had to remember, excuse me, who the fuck I am. And it's like I tell
Yeah,
my clients, remember who the fuck you are. All right.
yeah.
I'm not a weak little punk or anything like that. I'm somebody who's lived and learned and now share.
Mhm.
What's the biggest life lesson you learned that you share?
Um, to follow your intuition, to
That's
learn to trust and follow your intuition. That would be it.
Thank you for inspiring me to create a channel in your future. Oh, see? Otra. Thank you so much. I love you, Victoria. You're a sweetheart. Um, so has your intuition ever led you wrong?
Um, it's
Mine
led me in
has.
it's led me in a direction I didn't know existed, um, at first. Well, so we used to live in Colorado. We lived at 8,000 feet, surrounded by 14,000-foot peaks. Um, from the couch, you could see the summits of six 14,000 footers. And from the top of the 14,000 footers, I could see if my wife was home from work.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so now I live in southern Arizona, tall grasslands, and so I think our intuition led my wife and I to this place, which was not even on the radar when we were looking for somewhere to move. But it feels more like home than it ever did the 30 years we lived in Colorado. And we've only been here for 3 years.
It's weird you say that. I've lived here 5 years. When I first moved into this area, Paul, I may have told you before, I thought I died and went to hell, and they just forgot to tell me. Um, it was hot. It was lonely. I didn't know anybody, and it was during COVID actually. So, um, yeah, I was miserable. But once COVID lifted, I found my community.
Yeah.
Um, I tell people all the time, go out and find your community, find something that interests
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
and lean into it.
Yeah.
I tell people start off with your metaphysical bookstore because that's what you're interested in. Go down and see what kind of classes they have. Um, can you share a way of working with your intuition?
Oh, always ask yourself if this is the right choice. Ask yourself, like, uh, I try to swim 3 days a week in Sierra Vista. And then I try to run as much as I can. And so a lot of times I'll ask myself, should I should I swim today or run? And I'll hear swim. Okay, I'll go swim. Or and then I'll ask it a different way. Should I run today or swim? I'll go swim. Okay. Should I run? And then another time we'll say, should I run or ride my bike? I'll go for a run. So and then see what the outcome is like. So don't be afraid to ask yourself questions. It sounds kind of goofy, but um, that's how we begin to know that our intuition is looking out for us all the time. So,
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to go out on a limb and say, I'm going to do this because my intuition is telling me, and they don't want to be wrong. I see that in tarot card readers a lot. Um, they want to say what they're seeing, but they don't want to say the wrong thing, and they get scared. And I could see it in their eyes when they're reading. Um, don't ever be afraid to say what you're seeing in the cards for anybody watching this. Hey, Miss Tarot D, how you doing? Um, she was here earlier when I put the wrong time down. Sorry about that, love. Um, seeing you blew the thought right out of my head. I hope you're happy, lady. Um, what was I saying?
well, we were talking about, um,
Oh yeah, they don't want to be wrong.
yeah, but don't get me
Um,
wrong. But the thing is, uh, your intuition is never wrong, and that's what we get tripped up with, that because we want our intuition to be a certain way. I mean, I wanted to ride my motorcycle with my friends, but my intuition said no, that I should just hang out and not ride motorcycles with my friends. And so it wasn't until I had 3 hours of surgery that I realized, wow, my intuition was right. I should have just stayed at the hotel and read my book.
right.
And so like you said, we don't want to be wrong, but wrong for me is when I don't follow my intuition. When I
I
follow my
like that.
intuition, everything falls into place. That's the thing. Everything, the synchronicities, the serendipities, the coincidences, everything falls into place when you follow your intuition.
I followed my intuition moving here. Um, my husband had been wanting to move down here to be with his family for a while, and I was always against it. I was in Phoenix area. Come on, it's nice. Um, but then we moved down here to take care of his family, be closer to them. Um, best move I ever made in my life. I found peace. I
Yeah,
found my tribe. I mean, we were driving down the main street here on Fry, and I had never been in this area really. And I said, I want to go down there. And he said, there's nothing down there. And I said, I don't care. I want to go see well, there's nothing. And we had an argument about it. 6 months later, we bought a house here, um, right where I was saying.
yeah,
So um, my intuition is never wrong. It
right.
may not show up in the way I want it to, but that gut feeling I have, I've learned to trust it. If it says move, I move. If it says step back, I step back. Um, because I just know there's a big cartoon safe about to fall on me from above. So
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you
That's a, my wife
keep
will laugh.
mentioning.
I'm sorry. My
No, I
wife.
was going to ask you about your hand. You were saying
Mhm.
about the accident.
Oh yeah.
Um,
What do you want to know about
what happened?
it? I I trimmed about 3/8 of an inch off my index finger in a machine.
Yeah, it was
In my
too long anyway.
what's that?
It was too long anyway.
Yeah. Well, I still have my fingernail, which is pretty good. It's a little funky looking, um, but it's one of those things where I needed the money and I ignored my intuitive feeling from the moment I met the client. I had that weird intuitive feeling that I should just walk away, but I needed the money. And the moment I stuck my finger in that machine and I looked at it and I went, well, okay, we're going to the emergency room. And
Well,
I
that's
knew
not
exactly
good.
this isn't going to go well. But the thing is, and so we're driving to the emergency room, and now I'm setting intentions. I'm setting an intention to like, okay, I want to be able to walk right in. I want the best nurse to take care of me, the best doctor to be there. I want everything to flow smoothly, and everything went just like turning the pages in a book. Everything just flowed really smoothly because I was just setting an intention the whole way down to the emergency room.
Thank you, Miss Charity. She says your intuition on wearing that hat today was right. You look very dapper, my dear. Yes, I do, don't I? So, and just for anybody who's not watching, I'm growing my hair out right now, so that's why I'm wearing a lot of hats. Um, when I met you, I had a Viking cut and a big long ponytail. Remember? Um, so, I thank you, Angie. I'm going to open up the floor, you guys. If you have any questions for Paul, do me a favor, post them in capitals for me, so I see it. So, your wife, she's a lovely woman. Do Would you say she has the same type of belief in her intuition as you do?
She is now. Yeah, she definitely is learning to trust her intuition more. Sometimes she'll say, "Oh, I don't know if I should do this or that," and I'll say, "Well, ask yourself. Don't ask me. Ask yourself." And then she'll ask herself, and then she'll go, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm going to do this," and it works out for her. So we encourage each other to sort of ask the questions, to ask each other the question. So,
Um, we brought up journaling.
mhm.
Journaling confuses a lot of people. What would be some good things to put in a journal? It really does confuse a lot of people. I was surprised at this myself.
That's interesting because I've been journaling pretty much most of my life. And a lot of times when I was journaling, I would journal and then I would look back and read it. I would realize, wow, I'm either really happy or I'm really miserable, and it's time to make a change. Uh, and so just put stuff down. And if you can't think of anything to journal, just write, I can't think of anything today. And then just leave it at that. Or
Ah,
a lot of times just write, um, describe what looked like what's happening outside. The breeze blows the grass and a crow flies by. And just write what you see out the window, and don't get all hung up on what it should be. Just let it go. Just write. And
I've always wanted to write my life story, but every time I start, it's very depressing. So I always bail on it. I'm like, I don't want to think about this. Um,
huh.
I can't write because I have tremors and it frustrates me. So I have to type everything out. Um,
Yeah, I get
I
it.
like that,
Yep.
but at the same point, something's missing. When I write things out, I feel cleaner. Does that make sense?
Might
Um,
be.
it it's more honest and true, I think, because I'm actually thinking about what I'm writing out. If I'm typing, it's very quick. Um, that's a personal thing. I don't know if you guys feel that way or if you do, Paul, but
So when I so after I trimmed my finger, I was about 4 months later. I was writing my journal, and I took the cue from Neil Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, and he was writing in his journal. He just stopped to hear an answer, and he heard an answer, and I thought, well, maybe if it can work for him, why can't it work for me? And so I wrote a bunch of questions, and I stopped, and I heard another voice, and so I started writing. But I've had bad penmanship since they put a pencil in my hand in kindergarten. So I can't read what I've written 5 seconds after I write
thank you.
it. So I started, I wrote for about 4 months in a journal. And then I bought up my first MacBook. And so I could type it out. And then it became easier to have a conversation to show my wife what I was going through. And then it was easier to write books. Um,
Timmy says typing is the way to go. I wrote a
I,
screenplay out longhand once, really, and regretted it because then I
wow.
had to type it out all over again.
Jeez. I actually
That's
I actually typed 3 books with 2 index fingers, and then I'm teaching myself to type as we speak. So I'm learning to
really.
type. Yeah, I'm learning to type. So,
Um,
but yeah, we just can't get hung up with what you journal. If you just write, my dog ate all the cat food today, and I'm not happy. I mean, whatever. Write whatever happens, and then let that guard down. Let those walls start to crumble because you really want to connect with the truth of who you are. You want to connect with your authentic self. And everything that prevents us from writing honestly in a journal is all of a facade we build to protect ourselves. So if you can't write in a journal, it's because you've created something that prevents you from expressing the truth of who you are.
truth. That's a big thing right there when you're journaling. It's
Yeah.
truth. And I think that's what stops a lot of people is they have to be honest when they're journaling. And sometimes you don't want to be honest about certain things. Uh, it's true. And those are the times I hate when I have to sit there and tell myself, well, you are an asshole or you did wrong. Um,
Yeah, but
I've been tearing myself up for the past couple of weeks because I cut somebody out of my life. Um, and I knew it had to be done, but I still felt bad about it. Um, feeling bad is a choice. I'm
mhm.
I'm allowing myself to feel bad, um, and I'm trying to get over that.
I said no to somebody recently, and I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad at all.
Hell, I
She
fuck those
said,
bitches.
I want to be your friend. And I said, no. I was like, no, it ain't happening. I've gone through it. I've seen the pain. I felt the pain. No, I'm done. I love myself enough not to allow that energy into my world. Just say no.
And when I did it, it happened so fast. It was a flash of insight, like, do it. This ain't gonna work. And
Yeah. Yeah.
on one hand, I do feel better about it that that's out of my life. On the other hand, I'm like, I don't like upsetting people. Oh my gosh, my whole mission in life is to make people feel better. And then I go on that rant.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Bedevilments obscure our insight. Oh, yeah,
Does
all
what?
right. Timmy, Raven Tarot Meditation, wrote, Bedevilments obscure our insight. That's a very cool saying. I should write that down too.
Yeah.
Um, so, what is up with your next book?
I've just recently started getting the urge to start to write again. And it might be um, a if you take my first 2 books and then Abundance to Zen and go like this, it might be that. So it might be
Abundance to Zen
conversations.
is the one that I have that I really like.
Yeah, it might be conversations with my higher self in sort of a briefer format, where just kind of a daily reader. Um, because there are a lot of things that are going on out there, and my most recent blog post, which uh, is about free will and Adam and Eve. So that's an interesting blog post. Uh, and so just that sort of the short conversations um, with my higher self about how we work, how we navigate through some of the things that we deal with every day. I mean, how do we deal with the people that want to cause harm to others? And as crazy as it sounds, is we want to send them love. We don't want to, because they feed off of anger, they feed off of hate. So send them love. So that I think the next book will be sort of a combination of all three of my books. And I'm kind of getting the urge to start writing again. So I'm excited by that.
You getting the itch?
I am.
That's awesome. I'm getting the itch too. I haven't done any artwork in over a year because I've been so focused with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting that itch too. I've got 4 gallons of resin sitting here just waiting for me.
Good.
You give some great advice in your books. Who was the one that gave you great advice outside of your own intuition?
I had this friend, and he was able to ask people questions that was really non-threatening. So he would tell me stories about his wife was from Cape Town, South Africa, and they would go to Cape Town. The two of them would go to Cape Town, and he was from a white guy from Chicago, and they would go to Cape Town, and he would purposely get himself in black communities and start to ask questions, but in a non-threatening way. So when he came back from South Africa, he had a different view of what apartheid was for the people in Africa. And so from him, I learned that always ask the question, find a way to ask the question that's non-threatening, where you get an answer, because you'll never learn anything if you're not asking questions. And so that was a really great lesson for me, to actually ask the question. Ask the question. And don't
Do
be
you?
afraid to ask the question.
What is your opinion on insight and intuition and ancestors? Do you believe that sometimes our intuition or insight is coming from a higher power, like a guardian angel or family member?
So I believe that when we transition, when we die, our body, when we change out of this meat suit into and become one with all of creation, um, we become part of the collective. We become part of this collective consciousness. So I feel that I'm receiving guidance from everybody that ever was, uh, and whether they're a friend, a relative, um, or someone I don't even know. So I feel I'm tapping into the wisdom of all the people that have ever lived and all the energy of all consciousness at the same time. I don't know if that answers your question clearly.
That's a good answer. Athena says, I learned that in order for people to open up and take what I say not as an attack, is to first expose where I've done a similar thing. So I'm not judging them, rather, I'm helping them see the past.
Yeah.
The thing I wanted to bring up is the last thing I say after the outro plays. There's a little bit of space there, and I always come back on and I say the same thing: never let your past define your future. We can be our biggest enemy, our biggest critic, our biggest roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
When I get in those times when I am in my own way, I have to ask myself all those questions you just talked about. Is this real? Am I having a bad day, or did I have a bad 5 minutes that I'm milking into a bad day?
Mm-hmm.
what's the real gist of this? Why am I upset? Who am I upset at? Um, and doing that has really calmed me down a lot.
Right. It, a lot of times, like I have these neighbors and they have a bunch of dogs. And yesterday the dogs were barking a lot. And I was upset because I wanted my neighbor's dogs to be quiet so that I would be happy. So a lot of times when we're upset, we want other people to change who they are to please us. And then once I'm happy, I'm set. So if I'm angry at my partner, if I'm angry at my wife, which I never am, it's because I want her to behave in a way that pleases me. And it's like, well, then I have no self control because my emotional stability is in her hands. So yesterday, I caved to the dog's barking. I handed my emotional stability, I handed my happiness, I handed my sense of groundedness to the dog who was barking. And the dog just took it and ran with it, and he just barked. And so I voluntarily gave it to the dog. And now today I came home from my swim and the dogs were barking. I'm like, huh, oh well, and I wouldn't let that go. So when we are, for me, when we are angry at other people, in essence, we want them to change their behavior to please us, which is never going to happen. And once we realize that, we just go, oh, well, it's not going to happen. So why do I want to give them control over me emotionally? So that's how I look at that.
It's yeah. I it's true, and that is more accurate right now than you realize. So I pulled a couple cards while you were talking, and ironically, it said exactly what you just said. We have the love card and change. So these two together are, we want somebody to change for our balance, for our happiness.
Right.
That's never a good thing. And I'll tell you why I believe that. Is because if I ask somebody to change and they make the attempt to do it and I'm pleased, they're miserable. Because I've asked them to change who they are. So I don't ever ask anybody to change who they are. If I can't be around them, I can't be around them, but I'm not going to ask them to change.
Well, the thing is, we have done it, most of us have done it through most of our lives. So you want to express something to your parents, but your parents don't want to hear it. And so they tell you to shut up or whatever. And so you just keep that quiet. So in childhood, we actually wind up changing our behavior to please our parents. And then because if your parents say, if you stop crying, I'll take you to McDonald's. Wow, cool. I'm going to stop crying because I'm going to go to McDonald's. So if I keep behaving a certain way that makes mom happy, I get all these really cool perks. And then you wind up going to college and you meet somebody. And well, if I behave a certain way, then this person begins to like me. So what happens is we really begin to deviate from who we really are because we spend most of our time trying to please those around us to gain the acceptance that we're seeking. An acceptance that we can only find within ourselves. And then at some point you wake up, hopefully at some point you wake up and you realize, I can't do this anymore. And that's what happened to me. I can't do this anymore. I can use the word no. No, I'm not going to change who I am to please you anymore. If this is me, if you don't like me, then that's not my issue. Yeah. That's yours.
That's what I came down to with my channel. I'm like, you know what? I'm loud, I'm rude, I'm crude. I'm not your average love and light motherfucker. I'm not.
That's what we love about you.
I'm finding that out, that I don't have to be somebody else. Just being myself is when I shine the best.
Right.
I encourage people to be themselves. So why shouldn't I be myself?
Mhm.
People like you who shine a light and give encouragement to other people are what makes this world livable.
Thank you.
Yeah, that energy unites people. It gives us a common thread, a common belief system, if you will, that we need to look inside of ourselves. I hope I didn't say that wrong. Um, anyway, I really want to thank you, Paul, for joining me again today.
Thank you, Robert, for
Um,
having me. I really appreciate it.
your books, can you, is there anything you want to add before I let us go?
Well, you can check out my website at paulhudonauthor.com, which I post a new
The,
blog
the
once a
link
month.
is in the description box.
Yep.
Yes.
And then you can find my books there as well. And then if you have any questions, there's a contact sheet. If you have any questions about what I write or anything, you want to just start a conversation, don't be afraid to reach out. I'm always open to the conversation.
And love that. So everybody, please check out Paul's books. Paul, stick around backstage and we'll talk.
Mhm.
Everybody else, I will see you on tomorrow morning, actually, at 1 o'clock Eastern. I will be on with Marcus Ironwood, publicist for Llewellyn Books, and we're going to find out what happens in order to bring a deck out from beginning to end. So, everybody, I'll see you on the next video. And of course, on Wednesday, I'll be here with Joey. You know what kind of fun we have then. All right, everybody. Love you. Bye.
Thank you, Robert.
And like I